Hello, everybody. I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is Answers in a World of Blue. Basically, it's a Twin Peaks talk show, and we're going to be discussing episode 5 that aired earlier this evening. And as usual, I have a damn fine coffee and a piece of pie to enjoy. Hey, Maniac Phantom, good to see you. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. Anywhere, if you have any questions on Twin Peaks at all or David Lynch or anything, feel free to ask. If you have anything to add, feel free to add about Twin Peaks. And basically, let's take a look here at the pie and coffee. There we go. Today we have blueberry pie, and we have a cup of coffee right there. So, okay, it was a good episode. It's weird indulging in 2 hour almost movie like releases and then getting a 1 hour episode, so that was pretty unique. But there's a lot to unpack in this episode. So many scenes. I thought it was going to be a lot of larger scenes, well, not a lot, but a few larger scenes and not quite as many small ones, but there were some pretty amazing things that happened. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out, do we start at the beginning? Do I just go with a quote and go from there? Who should I call? Should I call Mr. Strawberry? Now, that is one of the things that Doppelkoop says, and it's pretty interesting. We'll go into more detail on that, but I think that's one of the quotes of the evening, though. Should I call Mr. Strawberry? I thought he was just making a joke. I thought he's going to name, different fruits and everything. Should I call him Mr. Apple? Should I call him Mr. Peach? But when he said that, the warden had a really odd reaction, as if that meant something to him. And it reminded me of the original series when Bob is talking to Cooper and mentions what happened in Philadelphia and how he had a thing with knives, which is pretty interesting. 1 second here. Give me 1 second. A Windows update wants to happen. I kid you not. Give me 1 second, please. Son of a... That is just bullshit, I have to say. I could have been doing anything on that computer, and then that had to come up then. Seriously? Seriously? You got a surprise for me, Darklinks. What's that? I'm a little scared to know what it is. So let's start, I think, closer to the beginning. I have these notes here. It all starts with... I don't know if they're gangsters or what. We don't even know yet. Maybe just part of a gang. And they're interested in Dougie and the money that Dougie owes them, okay? And they talk to this woman on the phone. This woman picks up a BlackBerry, of all things, and sends a message. Sends a message to this place that looks like bizarre and run down. It looks like a crawl space of a building, not like an actual room or apartment or anything. And there's a beeper, and it looks like the beeper is on a, I don't know, like a tin that you would put food on or something. Wish I had a surprise that I won the lottery and could retire. That'd be a great surprise. Of all surprises, that'd be a damn good one. So that's all we knew. At that point, that it ends there. And it's just like, okay, that reminds me of the scene in Mulholland Drive when they try to get a hold of Mr. Roke and then also try to get a hold of the cowboy. That's a weird scene where, like, a phone rings. We don't know where it is initially. There's a crazy looking light on the wall. We find out eventually who's being called and everything. It reminded me a lot of that. Okay? And, let's see here. We have a great scene with Jane Levy, who's an excellent actress, who is the, I guess, coroner also a stand-up comic. So it's one of the most inappropriate autopsies I have ever seen on television. It was pretty wild. It was pretty entertaining. It was quick, but what we found out was very important. Inside the body, and I don't think it's been identified yet, but my theory is it's Garland Briggs's body. Inside the body was a ring. The ring was Dougie's ring. So basically, Doppelkoop was going to use Dougie as like a scapegoat for the killing. And Cooper, if we remember, had the golden ring. In the series, he gave that to the Giant. Well, it could be that Doppelkoop's modus operandi is to take a ring and make the person swallow it, or maybe surgically implant it or something crazy. Wouldn't it be that insane? Well, it's hard to say there's a lot of insane things in this show. Let's see. Then shortly thereafter, we have Doppelkoop in prison. And he's not sleeping, he's just lying there. Like, I'm thinking or what, I don't know. It's kind of creepy. Oh, cool, you got Friday the 13th. That's awesome. That's really cool. So, give me 1 second here. Because I write the notes like a lunatic. It's just all over this piece of paper, and then it's like double-sided, so it's like 1 page always. So Doppelkoop goes, food is coming. And like 30 seconds later, the door opens up, and a guy comes with a food tray. And he didn't look at a clock or anything like that. It's like he just instinctively knew that. So it seems that Doppelkoop has a very exact idea of time, that he's almost like as like perfect as like a clock or a watch or something like that when it comes to time. So then he gets the food that's brought to him. He takes a long look into a mirror. We cut to the scene in Twin Peaks. It was the finale, actually, with Bob and Doppelganger Cooper, and laughing. And both are like joyous and laughing, and it's just sinister laughing, and it's very frightening stuff. And it was cool because it got them to use Frank Silva again, who did pass away years ago. But Frank Silva's still here as Bob, so that was cool. So then I thought, well, that was going to be it, you know. He's going to look at the mirror and then turn away. He continues looking at the mirror. And very slowly, digitally, he becomes Bob. And he says something very interesting. And Bob's expression is not the usual when you see him in a mirror, like, you know, mischievous, joyous, anything like that. He looked unhappy. Now, that could be me reading into it. That's totally possible. But he looked unhappy. And then Doppelkoop says, "You're still with me. That's good." So here's a crazy idea. What if Bob, as evil as he is, as monstrous as he is, always played by the Black Lodge rules? Always played by what he was supposed to do with the Garmonbozia, the pain and sorrow and all that, right? And now, what if Doppelkoop, because it's the shadow self of Agent Cooper, and, you know, Agent Cooper, very virtuous, very good. The opposite of that, very evil, very terrible. What if Bob, inside Doppelkoop, is almost a hostage? What if that's like a prison to him? What if we thought he was always going to be driving the train and he's not driving anymore? It doesn't seem impossible to me that that's possible. Take a bite of pie, bud. What kind of pie? Desert Nutty Buddies. I haven't had those in a long time. Kitty, thank you very much for the host. Let me go full screen here, because whether it's a Twin Peaks talk show or a game, I do celebrate people hosting. Thank you very much for that. Twin Peaks on Showtime, Kitty. Twin Peaks The Return. We're talking about episode 5. There you go. Okay. So, yeah. When he looked in the mirror, that to me is an amazing scene. There's two amazing scenes in this episode. Awesomely done visuals that will stay with you. So that was one of them. Give me 1 second here. Oh, then there's we won't go in order, but we're just going to look at a number of different things. Next thing is Dougie's car go boom. Dougie's car had something underneath it, and at first I thought it was just a tracker. That's what I thought it was. But this gang goes and they try to start the car, break into it, and it explodes, killing them, killing everyone trying to get into the car. And the ironic thing is, the drug-addled woman who was in episode 3, I believe, her young son sees this across the street out the window, sees the flashing light. So he goes to check it out. He's actually about to remove the bomb. Now, either that would have killed the kid. I'm guessing any tampering would have killed, blown the bomb. So unfortunately, that would have killed the kid. But luckily, they were like really mean and told the kid to get out of there and started swearing at him. So then they were the only ones there by the car when it blew up. So that was pretty interesting. They ban you. Thank you very much, Kitty. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, that's the next. 900 is the next goal, and after that goal is 1,000. I like real nice, simple goals. I don't have goals that are like 1,500 to 2,000. I'm happy to look at it as 100 by 100. Okay, so that was pretty wild. And then we have Dougie notice a statue outside of his place of work. That statue, I'm trying to figure out if it reminded him of himself or Sheriff Truman, because it was a figure with a gun and a hat. Truman always had the hat, okay? And, obviously Coop, FBI agent, and Truman, gun. So I'm not sure if he was remembering Sheriff Truman or himself at that point. I don't know for sure. But we find out Dougie loves coffee. Doesn't just like it, loves it. And being that he's almost baby-like now, it's almost as if coffee's like mother's milk to him. It's very bizarre the way he drinks it. And basically almost seems to need it. It's very weird. We also find out that Dougie's a lie detector. I have Dougie the lie detector here, because he could tell when Tom Sizemore was lying about something in a meeting. So that was pretty interesting. And then something they planted that we may have forgotten. Dougie forgot or left his keychain from the Great Northern Hotel in Jade's car. She finds it and does the proper thing and puts it in the mailbox so it can get back. That'll probably have interesting repercussions, I think. I am because of Gold Scorpion. Okay. So, one of the best things is that I think no one could have guessed, no one in a million years, is what Dr. Jacoby was doing. Or shall I call him Dr. Amp? So Dr. Jacoby is a conspiracy theorist, almost along the lines of Alex Jones, which I would have never guessed in a million years. And the golden shovels he was making are these tchotchkes that he sells to make money, because the idea is you want to shovel yourself out of the shit, as he says. So he makes money selling golden shovels. That's like his thing. And like everyone else is like, oh, he's doing those for groundbreaking ceremonies and all that, which is what I thought too. In fact, I thought it was connected to Rancho Rosa, which we've seen signs for now in 3 or 4 episodes. And now I'm starting to think Rancho Rosa is connected to Ghostwood somehow, too. At this point now, I'm thinking that. Okay, so that was wild. We also found out that Nadine Hurley and Jerry Horn are avid fans of Dr. Amp and check out his show. Here's a good treat. We saw the Pentagon and Ernie Hudson, one of my favorite actors. I actually got a chance to meet him. Super nice guy. You know him from Ghostbusters. You know him from the TV show Oz on HBO. He's works at the Pentagon, and it was cool to see him in anything with David Lynch, including Twin Peaks. I mean, that was really neat. They're just painted gold, but he's very painstaking, and he built a device that actually turns the shovel and lets him paint over 2 coats, and he's wearing like a mask and respirator and everything. So like it's like a solid looking gold shovel. Chances are you're not going to physically use it to shovel with. It's like a metaphor, so it would look nice, as a keepsake. And what's amazed me is the shovels are only $30. Buying a new shovel, like the ones he had that he painted, those had to be like $15 a piece. I'm sure he gets a discount, but they're not cheap. They're metal shovels with wooden handles. So I thought $30 was super cheap for something like that. I was actually hoping against hope that those would be available on the Showtime website today. Because sometimes they'll do crazy things like that at HBO and Showtime. They'll have something in the show, and you'll find out, insanely enough, that's a souvenir you can purchase. T-shirts they do that with all the time. It's always amazing with Game of Thrones and True Blood on HBO, where you can actually buy shirts from that specific episode, and they debut a line of dialogue or artwork right after the show aired on the website. It's pretty neat, actually. I kind of like that. Insane consumerism, but pretty wild. Okay, so here's something really awesome. We knew Amanda Seyfried was going to be in Twin Peaks. We found out who she is. Her name is Becky Burnett, and she is Shelley's daughter, basically. As far as we know, I don't think stepdaughter. I think her actual daughter. And she is, I guess, married, because I'm going through the credits and everything, to Stephen Burnett. And Stephen basically did terrible at a job interview, which was Mike, of Mike and Bobby from the original series. Mike was the employer, so that was a pretty awesome scene, where he's like saying, you have no fucking chance of getting a job, get your shit together. However, you did find out that Stephen was heavily on drugs at the time. So he was pretty wasted on drugs. Let's see here. Things get interesting here. We met a smoking man at the at the Roadhouse. And the smoking man, you only find out who he is by watching the credits. His name is Richard Horn. So, I'm guessing it's I'm sorry, not Shelley, forgive me. I'm not thinking right. Audrey's son, maybe? She has a son? Well, he is a nightmarish piece of work, in line with someone like Leo from the original show. Maybe worse. He reminded me of Frank Booth from Blue Velvet. He's scary. He's scary as hell. And he has some sort of deal where he got money to this guy. He's really frightening. He's frightening. Once you see that scene, that's gonna stay with you too. He seems much worse than his father, or his grandfather, I guess, because I'm guessing Ben would be his grandpa, because he doesn't seem all that old. It's hard to gauge it. I'm not sure. I'm just not exactly sure. I watch quite a few TV shows. True Blood is still, talked about and everything, Kitty, but no, it's no longer on TV. But it's still talked about. Okay, 1 second here, everybody. Back to the table cam. I'm going to have a little bit of coffee. That is damn fine coffee. Kitty is very much alive. Got some blueberry pie this evening. It's good. It's a delicious blueberry pie. So, people were running about Robert Knepper, who was in the show Prison Break, as well as Heroes in season 4. He was a villain, and he's in tons of things, tons of TV shows, great actor. And Jim Belushi, who they were going to be in Twin Peaks. It turns out they run the casino in South Dakota, and they were none too happy when they found out that one person won 30 jackpots for a total of $420,000. And there's this insane scene where you have these showgirls that look like they're out of the 30s or 40s watching and standing against a wall as Robert Knepper beats the living shit out of the person that was in charge of the casino. Like the day-to-day manager, not like the owner or upper management. So that was pretty wild. That was an interesting Lynchian scene of violence and craziness. And I've never seen Jim Belushi that intense before. It was really cool. It was really seeing Jim Belushi out of his comfort zone. I want that pie. Hated True Blood, but your mom loved it. I liked it until they hit season 6. Season 6, it started to go downhill, and season 7 was shitty. Hey, Vampire Diaries is for me one of the same. Well, no, it didn't get shitty, but it started out really good and like mocking other vampire things for 2 or 3 seasons. And they had Klaus, who was a really good villain. I mean, we're getting off the topic of Twin Peaks here, but yeah, they had Klaus, who was a really good villain, and then they softened him up too much. Otherwise, that was great. That was like a Buffy-esque villain, Klaus. I liked him a lot. And it was this British actor who was really intense, and he did a good job with the role. Then he turned out to be on the originals. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Lightning, good to see you. Good to see you. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, the end of True Blood season 7 was pretty awful, kidding. I didn't buy that decision that he made at all. But again, we're back to Twin Peaks now. So yeah, Richard Horn, like I said, was nightmarish. We now know who Robert Knepper and Jim Belushi are in the show. The second visual, first visual that was amazing, was Doppelkoop looking into the mirror and seeing Bob. That was amazing. Digitally turning into him, basically, is what they did. Hey, Death Adder, good to see you. And then the second scene was awesome. Amanda Seyfried goes and gets money from Shelley, her mother, and then goes into a car where we find out that, yes, Stephen Burnett was the guy who was trying to get the job and didn't get it. And he's a huge druggie, and she is too, I guess. It almost seems like she's a girl in trouble. That's a huge theme for David Lynch. That is Mulholland Drive. That is Blue Velvet. That is Lost Highway, actually, because of what happens to Fred Madison's wife. Yeah, girl in trouble or a man in trouble are like a big theme for David Lynch. But yeah, it could be that's what's going on. She might be our Laura this time. Although we don't know that, someone is, been preying on her for years or anything yet. It's not exactly the same, but it seems like that might be where they're headed with the idea. I don't know. But there's this amazing scene where she gets high, and then they frame her face, and Amanda Seyfried has this amazingly expressive face with these just amazingly large eyes. That's really hard to explain unless you look at Amanda Seyfried's face. And she's there smiling and looking up with her head against like the seat, and it's this amazing scene of all the reactions she's having, and this nice 1950s or 1960s song is playing on the radio. It is an excellent scene. So that is another great moment in this episode, this great visual that you walk away with that's super awesome. Okay, give me 1 second here. I think we go to the next part. Let's see here. Appreciate your patience, everybody. I wrote this, like I said, like a lunatic, just trying to cover all the insane things that happened. I want to see this skimpy show. No, Death Adder, it's what a lot of people watched. So when it was on, like in the beginning, it was a phenomena. It was ridiculous. They had insane amounts of viewers. Once they solved the central mystery, they didn't have as many viewers, unfortunately. Gonna bite that pie. And the sad thing is, David Lynch didn't want to solve the mystery that soon. I mean, He wanted everything to recede into the background and go from there. And then focus on other mysteries, and then at the very end of everything, reveal who killed Laura Palmer, which was a central idea of the TV show. But David was right. It turned out once he revealed who killed Laura, that not as many people wanted to watch anymore. And then also, too, David decided to work on other TV shows and things like that and movies. He had a show called On the Air, and he did Wild at Heart. So he got preoccupied with other projects. Hi, Mr. Try. Yes, today's episode was very good. Everyone wants pie. Dutch apple. Might have apple. I don't know. I think we'll have blueberry the next 2 weeks, though. Today and next week. Because believe it or not, the pie actually does last a week if it's kept in a nice, cool place. I just picked it up today. Okay, so give me 1 second here. I'm just going to find out where I have this information. I'm trying to think if I thought of something and then I didn't write it down, which is possible. Well, okay. So then we go to Agent Tammy Preston of the FBI, and she's looking at Agent Cooper's fingerprints. And she's matching him to Doppelkoop, who, you know, everyone in the FBI, you know, that's been there, Gordon and Albert believe it is Coop. But there's something wrong with him. It seems the fingerprints do not match. So that's pretty interesting. There's like no dialogue or anything. It's just her looking at different fingerprints, but they don't seem